Kia ora and welcome to episode 30 of Bridge Talks Business with Milford. What if I told you that up to a third of Kiwis miss out on $500 a year? Money you could be getting but aren't. What if I told you that combined we're missing out on $500 million a year collectively? We're leaving $500 million a year on the table that we could be pocketing. It's all to do with KiwiSaver. This week we'll chat to Liam Robertson from Milford. He knows KiwiSaver like the back of his hand. First, here's your top 5 business bits. Number 1, a sharp recovery in US shares over the past week. Trump looks like he is keen to do some deals. We've had positive talk and signs from the White House on trade tariffs. Number 2, new business surveys show manufacturing and service industries worried about prices and growth. Manufacturing in particular reporting higher prices in the US. Number 3, things might look better before they look worse. Fear of tariffs may have led consumers and businesses to pull forward consumption, which means the impact of these tariffs on economic activity may only be seen in the data that we get over the next 1 to 3 months. Number 4, reporting season for the first quarter in the US is underway, and at this stage, early results, they've been solid, but companies not committing to any forward guidance, crystal ball gazing in any major way because of uncertainty about those tariffs. And at number 5, we've got data coming out our ears this week, including US GDP data, jobs data, industry surveys, company reporting. We've got Aussie inflation, and of course, we await more news out of the White House on the trade tariffs. This week, it is that time of year again. It's KiwiSaver end of year time. June 30 is the day. Have you contributed enough through the year in order to get the government's KiwiSaver contribution? Make sure you're not leaving any money on the table. This week, Liam Robertson, a senior KiwiSaver financial advisor, is with us from Milford. Just a note that this segment is informational only and should not be considered financial advice. Liam, welcome to the podcast.
G'day, mate.
Good to have you here. Now, you're the guy, I've been wanting to get you on for a while because you're the guy that basically knows everything there is to know about KiwiSaver, right?
Some say that.
Now, how much is the government contribution? Because I'm wanting to make sure that I'm going to get that. How much is it that I get? $500 something?
It's $521.43. Very, very precise number the government's worked out.
You're across the numbers?
I am.
How many of us aren't getting, because it's basically $500 free dollars a year, how many of us aren't getting that?
Well, over the last 4 years, we got some great data from the IRD. We found that on average, 686,000 KiwiSaver members received no government contribution, and a further 536,000 members only received a partial contribution. So it's quite a staggering number. In fact, if you calculate what that amounts to, it's about $500 million every year that the government would have paid out but didn't have to.
Shoot. That is a huge sum of money. So $500 odd per person, but $500 million, the government's basically saving itself from having to pay out. How many KiwiSaver members are there in total? Is this a big proportion of that?
It's a big proportion, yeah. There's about 3.3 million KiwiSaver members, and of those, some are below 18 or over 65, so they're not eligible for the government contributions, but the eligible population is about 2.9 million. So it's a fair whack of us that aren't getting the most out of it that we probably could.
Who, you mentioned those obviously who aren't eligible for it, but of those that are?
The worst offenders is actually my age bracket, those aged 31 to 35. Around about a third of those members are receiving no contribution at all. And just for context, if we look at the best categories, so to speak, the 18 to 25-year-olds and the 61 to 65-year-olds, about 1/5 of them don't get it. So 4/5 of them do. So it's almost like we start off quite engaged with KiwiSaver at the beginning of our working lives, then there's a slump in that middle section, and then things improve as retirement gets closer and closer.
Right. Things happen in that middle section, though, don't they? And I know you've just had a baby.
Yes.
It's life that gets in the way. I'm assuming that's what it is.
I guess that's what it is. I mean, we don't have any hard data to say that, but, if we look at the second worst groups, they are 26 to 30 and 35 to 40. So it's kind of like that middle 15 years where perhaps you get married, you buy a house, you have kids, those traditional life stages. bills increase, income can reduce if you have a parent on leave, something like that. That's certainly my situation. And I think sometimes KiwiSaver just falls by the wayside a little bit.
Which is understandable, right? I mean, you've got to prioritise, and people might be buying a house too, that kind of thing. So those are important investments for the future as well, right?
Yeah, totally. And look, we're never going to get 100% of members get the full contribution. It's just not realistic. It's not possible. There's a very well documented cost of living crisis at the moment. But I think what we're trying to do is just raise engagement, because I think of those 686,000 people receiving nothing, some of them probably could. It's just slipped their mind.
Yeah. So this is the reminder for people: if you haven't got yourself back on it, back on the gravy train, for want of a better term, what is the because obviously it'll have an implication for when you go to retire and you want to have a nice, comfortable time. Have you run any numbers on what it might mean for you later in life if you don't?
Yeah, we looked at two 18-year-olds side by side. We assume that one never joins KiwiSaver. That's absolutely fine. They go and do their own thing. The other does join KiwiSaver, but they're only going to put in the minimum required to get the full government contribution every year. So that's about $21 per week. All right. If they invest that in a growth fund, they will retire with about $150,000. That's in today's money.
Wow.
I don't think anyone would turn their nose up at 150 grand the day they turn 65. And just to put that into a bit of context, that works out to about $49,000 across your working life that you've put into the system. You get $150,000 back. So for me, it feels like a no-brainer. Every dollar you invest, the government will give you 50 cents up to that maximum level. So it's a 50% return on investment before the money's even invested.
Wow. When you talk to people about this, do they? I mean, my reaction is, I should really, be a little more sensible. Maybe I shouldn't have even, got out of it in the first place. I mean, but you are where you are. You make decisions as you go. When you talk to people, are they like, oh man, I've made a huge mistake? Or is it like, just turn this around? It's not actually that hard to get back on it.
Yeah, look, you can't live a perfect life and make the correct decision every single time you make a decision. So you can't get too hung up on, maybe missed opportunities in the past, but it's never too late to turn it around. The best time to invest was yesterday and the second best time is today. So typically when we're having these conversations, people actually end up getting pretty upbeat about it because they're looking forward and thinking, geez, I'm glad I've realized now, not next year.
So what do you actually have to do? What is the best way to make sure that you're not missing out?
The best way is if you're employed, make sure you're in KiwiSaver contributing 3%. The way it's been set up, if you're on minimum wage and you work full time and you contribute 3%, you will automatically qualify. You don't have to do anything. If you're self-employed, then set up a $21 a week voluntary payment. That will automatically qualify you as well. The IRD do all of the calculations in that sort of first week of July, and then they pay the money out. So automate it. If you're self-employed, if you're employed, make sure you're contributing 3%.
Easy. Brilliant. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Thanks, mate.
That was Liam Robertson. He's a senior KiwiSaver financial advisor here at Milford. And if you're wondering about your status with KiwiSaver, if you want to check what your contributions are, head along to the IRD's website and have a look there. Don't forget you can like, follow, subscribe this podcast wherever you like to listen. We appreciate you doing so. See you next week.